Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast, a place where we focus on the business side of art to help you attract more customers, increase profits, to ultimately live a life of creativity and financial freedom. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and I have been trying to think about how to word this episode for the last hour. And I've been putting it off and I've been doing kind of other stuff. And then I'd come back to it and I'd write down some notes that I wanted to cover, because I think covering, just talking in general about this subject, which is the subject of dealing with the bad to attract the good, or it's not necessarily the situation, but how you react to it. Basically, what's happening as of recently, as of the last month, I'd say, is I have been challenging the universe, God, karma, whatever you want to call it. I'm not even sure what I call it, but I've been attracting situations. So I have been basically putting it out there and saying, okay, I can deal with criticism, put it on me. I can deal with customer complaints, put it on me, because I fully believe that the amount of hard conversations you can have in a day is directly related to the growth that you will have. Also, on the same note, the amount of criticism that you can take and turn it into either constructive criticism or ignore it will foster our development and creativity and all the things. Basically, there's going to be a level of bad that comes with good. There's a level of growth, but with that has to come some tough situations, just like when you're working out, right? Sometimes you're sore the next day because your muscles are rebuilding. And as we're currently in the fall season and Missouri is very pretty right now. Actually, everything's about to die, but seeing all the leaves change colors is basically a metaphor for sometimes things have to break down in order to grow new. And that is the season that I'm in as of this past month. So I'm going to tell you very lightly the situations without actually trying to bring anybody down or even allude to anything at all, but also telling you the lessons I've learned. Because I feel like I can tell you what I just told you and you're like, what are you talking about? Or you're like, yeah, I get it, but where are you going with this? Or I think stories and situations and me sharing my stories and situations, they add to the lessons learned and help you understand exactly what it is. Because when I listen to podcasts and books and people that are ahead of me say things like I just said in life, like, yeah, you got to deal with the bad in order to get the good. I'm like, but what do you mean? What exactly is the bad you're dealing with? I want to know specifically what you're feeling, what happened, how you overcame it, so that I can learn from it, because I think me sharing these stories will help you when you're going through a crazy situation, be like, oh, this is just a growing pain. Instead of being like, oh my gosh, my business, I suck at this. This is terrible. I should just go hide in a shell, which I have done, by the way. For instance, whenever I was writing my book, Mural Money, go to muralmoney.com if you want to get the audio or print version of that, by the way. And when I was writing that book, I had so many things being thrown at me. And I kind of realized it at the time. There's certain times where you're like, okay, no, this is a test. This is a great thing I'm going to put in my book. But by the time I published that thing, I just spoke out loud and I was like, okay, I'm done. I've hit all that I can. I've been punched enough. I need to rest a little bit. Let's just chill and ride the wave of easiness for a while. And it's funny because it kind of happened. There's always little things that happen, but I feel like there was a shift when I said it out loud. I know that's very woo-woo. I know it's just kind of I don't know, a little bit far out to say, but it's what I'm living in and it's what I've lived in the past. And lately I've been saying, all right, I can handle more. Let's grow. I want to make these big income goals. And I know to have that, I need to play a bigger game. And I know I need to do more outreach and just all the things. And I know that bad is going to come with it. And so let's just have at it. For instance, when I was writing my book, I think the biggest, for instance, example was I ended up going to court. It was probably 3 months before the book was published. So I still had time to write about it in full and the whole thing. And that was a huge learning experience for me. Although it sucked and it made a really good story for the book and the podcast and everything, I learned to have everything in writing. I learned the hard way to have everything spelled out for the customer, to not go over their budget, even if they're telling me they want this and this and that. Like, that was a lesson learned. And I'm going through those lessons learned right now. For instance, I had a customer recently, and this wasn't a terribly big deal, but now I know to do this ahead of time. So I'm really bad about doing contracts, even still. Okay. And it works out 90% of the time or more that I don't have a contract, and I write everything out in the email and it's fine. Like, I needed to be better about it. But I had a customer who I did a mural for. It was a great experience. The mural was over $5,000, just to give you an idea. And it was great. I was like, oh, this customer is great to work with. This was a perfect mural. I want more of this, right? And then it came down for payment. I sent the invoice like I always do. I never have a problem. And the customer was like, hey, I need to pay via credit card. And I was like, oh, no, I only accept check or Venmo because neither of those have a fee tacked on. And when you're painting murals $5,000 plus, the fees can really add up. And they sent a message back saying, well, this is just standard business for me. I have customers who I charge via credit card all the time. And, the transaction fee is just part of the business, like basically telling me how to do it. And I was like, I came back and I was like, okay, this could turn into a thing, which I don't want it to, because how you treat your customers is just the livelihood of your business, right? That is like, I know that this customer will recommend me to other customers. And so towing the line of sticking up for myself, but also being easy to work with, I think that is the lesson in all of these things that happen, the bad with the good. That is my takeaway with everything. So my response, I sent a voice message because a lot of the time in print, people can read that however they want, and they can put on whatever tone they think I am putting on it. And so I love to do a voice message. And I messaged back, hey, so just to explain the way I do business with companies, and everybody typically prefers to pay with a check. And more often than not, they have to run it through their accounting system, and it takes over 30 days. And that's just the way that I do things. I randomly have people ask for a credit card, and then I just tack on the extra fee. In this instance, the extra fee was going to be like over $100, I think. I don't know. It was like 3%. I don't know. And it was more than I wanted to pay. And so I was like, I will gladly tack on that extra fee if you choose to pay via credit card. But this is the way I do business. And if it takes you longer, that's totally fine. So I threw out, if it takes you 1, 2, even 3 months, I'm okay with that. And I don't live paycheck to paycheck. So that's totally fine with me. And you could tell they thought about it, they regrouped, they appreciated that I told my side of the story and that, this is just how it is. And they said it might take a while to get the check, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they turned around and I was like, okay, great. So that's like de-escalated a situation where the customer was not happy about. I could have, and I might have in the beginning just said, oh, okay, I'll take the fee. No big deal. And sometimes I do that if a customer needs to make a design deposit in the first, like very quickly. And I'm telling them, no, I need this before I can start, and I need to start the design right away. Then I'll be like, okay, yeah. Like sometimes, like if it's a small amount, like $500, I'll be like, whatever, what's $8? It doesn't matter. So sometimes I'll do that, but not when it's a full payment of a mural, $5,000 plus. But what that was telling me is I need to let customers know ahead of time that how I accept payment. That I accept payment via check, or if they need to do via Venmo, then that's that. But I need to put that somewhere on my process. So I just made these brochures to hand out at this thing that I'm going to, and I put on there checks or payments accepted via check or Venmo at the bottom of it. So, okay, there you go. It's in writing. And when I give people that, and hopefully I'll remember to tell people, or really I should just use a contract, really. Maybe one day I'll actually remember to do it on all of them. Usually on the big ones, I will, but mostly day to day, I just don't. But I should, and it should be in there. Payment terms should be in there. That way we would have totally avoided this. But like if I would have had a contract, would they have read all of it? That's kind of my thing. It's like I could point back to the contract and be like, oh, look, this is in it. But he still would have been probably taken off guard because who reads the whole thing? Hardly anybody. But it definitely would have helped my case to be like, oh no, my contract says this. You signed it. He'd be like, oh, okay, dang it. And so that's when it's a good thing to fall back on. Speaking of contracts, from now on, I'm also going to have contracts for when I coach people at higher levels, because I just had a run-in with an artist who I was coaching and doing in small groups, and they thought that they were getting something that they weren't. And over a month in, they were like, I want this. And I was like, oh no, I don't offer that. I thought I explained that. And they're like, well, I want out. And I was like, oh, okay, then okay. But now I know, okay, I need to put it in writing. So I just started doing small group coaching, which I love, and 90% of the people love it too. But what I learned from this interaction with one student was similar to when you're making a sketch for a mural. If you think you're getting one thing, or the customer thinks they're getting one thing, and it ends up being something else that they end up with, they're going to be unhappy. For instance, if you take a realistic picture and paste it on the wall for a mock-up, and you say, here you go, this is going to be $500, whatever. Probably going to be more than $500. And they say, okay, great, I want that. Like, okay, great. And then you go to paint it and it's not realistic. And then it's a very painted, semi-realistic at best. And they're like, well, what happened to the sketch that you showed me? Like, well, this is just a photo on there. I'm like, well, this is what I thought I was getting. And that interaction, I've learned, happens more often than not. Usually that is the one. The expectation of what you're getting versus what you're actually getting, that's where these things come and mess everything up, which has happened to me in the past. So I know now to tell the customer specifically, this is what you're getting. This is the picture. This is very close to what it will be. Or I'll explain to them, I will do my best to show them exactly what it is. Very rarely do I just put a picture on a wall, especially a very realistic one, without very much going into detail. Do you understand? This is what you're getting. That's exactly what happened with the student. I tried to start this small group coaching thing, being like, okay, guys, let's do this. Let's meet every week. Let's do this. This is what you're getting. And I didn't have everything written out. But part of that is because I'm still figuring it out. I did one-on-one coaching a while ago, and so I wanted to bring it back, giving a one-on-one thing, but having it in small groups to where I'm not just talking to one person. We're doing it in a small room of 3 or 4 people at a time, which is great because the questions that one person has benefits the next person, and I don't have to repeat myself all the time. And I'm like, this is great. So I am so excited that I have found my just so far perfect for me way of coaching people at a more intimate level and being able to give people exact direction on what they should do in their art business to get more mural jobs. So it's not the academy. That's basically just, I have videos and you watch them whenever you want and you can learn anything that you'd like. And if it's not in there, I will make a video for you and everybody gets it. But this small group coaching, we meet every single week at a certain time. Everybody is set to show up and I talk to them. Hey, how's your week been? I get to know them more and more every time. And I give them a task. I tell them what I am currently doing to outreach and getting more mural customers and where we're posting our stuff and all the things. And I explain to them exactly what I'm saying. And it's more direct but it's not just a one-on-one, me coaching one person. It's a small group, which I love. So that is going to be coming up. I'm going to be opening up more spots for that in January. So just a heads up, if you want me to meet you once a week on Mondays and say, hey, I need you to do this. And then next week, whenever we meet again, I'm going to ask you, did you do this? And hold you accountable to it and answer all your questions and make sure that you're doing it correctly with the right lingo, with the right pictures to get more mural jobs. Then in January, I'm going to open up probably 5 more spots for that. It's very small group coaching purposefully. I don't want to have a bunch of people in the room. We have Artist Academy virtual meetups where anybody can join, or anybody that's in the academy. And sometimes we have 10 plus on there and people ask questions and it's great. But this small group coaching, we have a specific time every single week and I give them specific things to do and it stacks. So I know what they did last week. I know what we're going to do. I know what we're doing this week. And it's a game plan every single week of how to get more mural customers. And I've already had a student who has made back her money in the first month. I'm like, yeah, it's so exciting. So I'm definitely opening it up to more spots in January. I'm sure you'll hear me talk about it in January, but heads up. Or if you for sure know that you want a spot in that, it's not super cheap. It's not the cheap Artist Academy, $37 a month. It's more than that. I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to charge. Probably about $3,000. So if you want in that and that the price doesn't scare you because you know that you're going to make it back in the first month because you're going to do everything I say, then message me on Instagram and I will put your name on a spot. And as soon as I open up spots in January, I will message you and say, hey, do you want a part of this? I will have everything written out. You will see exactly what you're getting. So there are no surprises. And that is the lesson that I am learning with the situation that just happened the other day with somebody who poked a hole in my process. So that's what I want you to think about. When there is an altercation or when there's a disagreement, it's like, oh, I need to be more clear about this and kind of decide like where you want to go with this. I had a situation about a month ago. So this is what started this, really. I had a situation about a month ago and it was one that I did not handle the best. I was meeting a customer to drop off a canvas and we were both going out of our way. We were both on time constraints. Looking back, now I realize what happened, but in the moment I was like, what's going on? And I handled it wrongly. So I was meeting a customer and I was doing my best to try to meet her and get out. Like I was in this appointment and I was like, I got to go because they were waiting outside. I get outside and I was like, just rushing through the whole thing. And I was like, okay, because then I had someplace to go afterwards. And it was a busy day and they weren't there. And I was like, what? I tried to go out of my way for you. Like I was running a little bit late though. And they said that they had to leave and go do this thing and that I needed to go drop it off with them. And I was like, I don't have time for this. Never mind. And I was like, let's just cancel the sale then if it's going to be like this. And I would look back on that and I'm like, oh, I should not have handled it like that. I just let my emotions at the time take over. And I should have said, okay, I can't do this today, but let's try to do this again another time. But in the moment, I was so flustered trying to meet this customer and it just wasn't working. And I had someplace to go and like all the things I was like, I can't do this right now. Like I just shut down. I was like, never mind, I will refund you. And I was like, it just wasn't the best. And so I looked at that. And a couple hours later, when I was calmed down and I had done all the things I had to do during the day, I sent a voice message. I was like, hey, sorry about earlier. Like I just explained my side of it and was like, hey, I was just rushing around. Like this was not ideal. I was like, I will definitely refund you. It's no big deal on my end. I hope it's no big deal on your end. And that was that. And so I looked at that and I was like, okay, I corrected my wrong because I was in the wrong, but I need some kind of redemption. So I was like, okay, universe, throw them at me. I can handle this. Let's go. Like I want to right my wrong times 10. And since then, it's more than just payment issues. I was working for a company recently and was doing a job and I had worked for this company multiple times, like multiple times in the past. And I was like, okay. And it came to get the check. And I was actually being subcontracted by another artist that I knew who also worked for that company. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Sounds good. They were supposed to do the job. They referred me to it. Again, I had painted for this company multiple times. I just did not think anything at all about it. And I posted videos online, like doing exactly what I normally do. And I got a message just recently for a job that I did a while ago and saying, hey, I saw that you posted videos and you didn't state that it was my job, from the artist. I was like, well, I mean, I did the job for this company that I've always worked for. Like, you signed a check over to me, so you subcontracted me, yes. But he's like, you need to take the video down or you need to say that you worked for me. And I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I was so like fired up in the moment. Obviously, I didn't say that to them, but I was like, I could have argued my side. And so I pushed it a little bit. I was like, can you tell me why this is important to you? Let me understand your reasoning before I give you mine. Like, can you please explain this to me? Like, what's going on in your head? And they explained it and they were like, this is obviously my job. And I've had other people message me saying that, like asking like why you're posting that I'm doing it. And I was like, you know what? Okay. Like, instead of just arguing with this person, I was like, I'm just going to bite my tongue and not work for them in the future, not tell them that, but just be like, okay, if you want to do this, this is the ground you're going to stand on. I will do that. I am not deleting my videos. That's ridiculous. But I will go back and at the very bottom of the caption that nobody's ever going to see, ever. Nobody's going to look back on these videos from months ago, ever. Like, I will put, I was subcontracted by you. Sure. Thumbs up. And so I didn't tell him that, but I was just like, okay, this is what's happening. Okay, sure, I will do that. And I just said, okay, with a thumbs up. And they said, thank you. I was like, great. So I am not burning a bridge, because you just don't want to do that, right? I learned my lesson with my customer that I kind of messed up with about a month ago. I was like, look, I'm not going to burn a bridge. I'm just going to say, all right, and move on and have that as a lesson learned. And I'm going to keep that in the back of my head forever, though, that I will know from now on. But it's a good learning lesson, because what if I was subcontracted by another company in the future that was much bigger, much more important, and I messed it up? So I know to now ask, which is funny because I have been subcontracted by multiple companies. Like, I did a project for Sony recently, and Sony was not the one hiring me. Like, fun fact, it was a middle party, a company who was doing the event for them. They hired me. And so I was like, I wonder if they want me to tag them. And I don't know. But from now on, I am going to make for sure that there's no middle party that I need to ask to tag. And this is a thing that happens with artists that I see many times. Like, this has happened to me in the past where I've worked with other artists who have had me on the job site and they got upset because there's only one time this happened, because usually other artists don't. Well, actually, no. I worked with other artists several times. There was just only one time that one got upset years ago. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll tag. But I've also had artists on my job, and I don't ask them to tag me. I think it's just a preference. If somebody comments saying, oh, this is a great job for you, awesome, like basically like thinking that they did the job all by themselves. So if I have a helper on and they're posting photos and videos, like I don't care at all. But if a customer comments basically stating that they did it all themselves, I'm like, no, like don't just go along with that. Be like, hey, actually, I'm painting with my friend Andrea. You can say this is my client, but don't just act like you did it all on your own if people assume. But I assume that other people will assume that that is their job. Like the job that I have them on is theirs. And that's okay. I don't care. I think that's why it rubbed me so wrong when I was like, who cares? Like in the beginning, I cared. Now that I have a roster of many companies and artists and all the things, I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Who people think is whatever job. I think it's a beginner thing. I think it's like when you're in the beginning of and I think that is a growing pain that people have to go through. So that's a great example of in the beginning, you care about all these things. And if you continue to care about them and be very restrictive and what's the word? Like hold on to something so tightly or maybe demanding in a way, like just there's definitely an art to just being chill and just going with it and not burning a bridge and not making a big fuss about it, because really, does it matter? No, it doesn't. People are going to think what they want to think when they see the video. I'd say less than half of the people that see things online actually read the caption. I know this because I put amazing captions sometimes, and then people still comment random things, like asking exactly what I've put in the caption, the information that I gave them. My husband never reads captions, ever. He reminds me of that too. And so that's the understanding that I have of it now. But it's a learning process. It's the learning thing of it is if you're on a job with another artist, just ask them, hey, do you want me to tag you in these? Hey, do you care? Hey, like when we're at mural meetups, I'm like, I don't care. Like you can tag that you're here with the Academy, that you can tag that you're here with me, you can tag that you're here with other artists. You can do posts with just yourself. I don't care. Because for me to be a stickler with the 20 or more people that are at a mural meetup and to go through their social medias and say, you didn't tag me, you need to reference the Artist Academy, like that would take so much energy of mine. And I just let it go. Like, whatever. It doesn't matter. If they want to, they will. If they don't, that's okay. What's the worst case? Like they're coming from not where I'm from. So they live in a completely other state. It doesn't matter because whatever things that they post are going to get them jobs in their state. And it's not going to get me a job. I don't want to go to Indiana to paint. I don't care. I think that is a growing pain that I've had to go through. And I want to challenge you too, to if there's a thing that you're constantly being like, ugh, that bothers me, or like whatever, like maybe think about letting it go, or think about how you can communicate it ahead of time so that there's not an issue. It's one or the other, but it can't be ignored. And I am definitely one that likes to ignore and just be like, oh yeah, like I'm going to come paint with you, for you, no contract, whatever. But I can't be surprised when something happens and I'm like, oh, they didn't have all the information. Well, no shit. I didn't give them a contract. Like I put it on myself. So it's how I can handle it now. I know what I'm setting myself up for. I know that there's going to be sometimes some things that I got to work through, but it's how I handle them. And there's always going to be things, right? Always. Like the more people that see what I do, the more people like it, but the more people that don't, the more people that I help and coach, the more people that are going to like my process, but the more people that are going to criticize it. Really, I've had people be like, I don't do things that way. And I'm like, okay, cool. How do you do them? Please explain. I used to think in the Academy that I had to have the answer for everything. I had to be the end all be all of information. If people were going to pay me, I needed to know everything. And so sometimes in the beginning, I would even like Google like the answers to questions and then give it to them. And I'd be like, here, see, this is the answer. And I'm like, no, that's not a good idea. Let me ask another muralist, because if you or I will Google an answer to a question, you're really just getting the surface level answer. You're not getting the for experience answer. So sometimes I will Google, I'll give them the link, like, here, I found this for you. I'm not really sure, but hopefully this gives you some insight, not acting like I have all the answers. Like that's another hurdle that I had to go through. And some of you might be like, well, duh, but I'm just giving you real examples of things that I have learned in order to grow my art business in a more chill way and not be fixating on the little things. Circling back to the idea that success has a cost. And you could think of it as like a tax or a bad cost, but we have to pay tax on all the money that we make. I think of it kind of like that. It's a learning lesson. It's something that you have to just take, what's the word? Not basically the opposite of aggressive. Just take it and go with it. I think about this. My husband does insurance. And so people only call him when their house is on fire or they wrecked a car. And when we go on vacation, he will hand off some of his on-call duties. Basically, he'll put on his voicemail, hey, call my secretary at work if you need this, this, and that. Basically, the things that he gets calls for every day, the problems that he has to solve, the complaints that he gets, all the things, he puts that on his secretary whenever we go to places like New Mexico where he doesn't have service, or Africa or whatever. Like, it's rare that he's not going to be able to have his phone, but it does happen sometimes. And he made a couple comments. When we get back, his secretary is so done. And I've talked to her and she's like, I cannot do what you do. I cannot handle that level of aggression when people call and you have to just remain chill. And this is just part of the job, because when people call and their house is on fire, they're not calling saying, hey, I had an incident. I just want to let you know. They're like, we have this, and just life is just so hard, and it's just, this is what's going on, and it's going to increase my rate. Like, what are you going to do about it? Like, that's the tone people are calling in. And he can't be like, well, yeah, your rate's going to increase. Deal with it. Like, it's, well, let me try to figure this out for you. This is what we can do. It's just like, it doesn't have to be this all zen, but it can't be a level of, you can't meet the customer at the level that they're at. You have to remain calm, explain the situations like I just explained. And this is just the way I do business. I accept checks because I really don't want to do this and that. I understand that this is the way you do business, but I'd appreciate it if, and I can bend, I can wait longer for the check. I just, because really they had to move money around. But I learned from other people who are doing bigger things than me and handling a bigger customer load. And I'm like, okay, if I want that level of success or money or whatever, there is going to be a cost to it. And that cost doesn't have to bring me down. I can just handle it with grace. Yeah, grace is the opposite of aggression. That's what I was thinking of. Handling it with grace and seeing what happens. I just had a student the other day who signed up for a website and they ended up charging her card over and over and over, and she was frustrated by it. And that is so normal. I would be too. I'd be like, oh my gosh, like, let's stop this. But then you step back and then you see that everything has a fix, and then you get over it and it's on to the next thing. It's like, it's not that I don't have feelings, because when that person texted me about deleting my videos, it was actually at night. And it was like 9 o'clock at night, actually. And I was like, also, why would you text me this at 9 o'clock at night? Like, this business hours much? Like, I was thinking, but I wasn't able to go to sleep until past midnight. And I was so annoyed by it because it affected me. But I didn't let it affect me past that. I vented about it just a little bit to my husband. I was like, hey, he did this. Like, what the heck? Like, I just wanted some kind of validation to be like, am I crazy? Or is this like, and then I put it away and I went on with life. Just like I had that student the other day that was like mad about this and that. And I told my husband about it, vented about it just a little bit. Like, hey, am I crazy? I don't usually vent to vent. I just vent to get somebody's opinion, usually my husband's, because he's very level-headed. And this is what I learned from it. He's like, yeah, you need a contract. I'm like, yeah, I do. You're right. Okay, moving on. Okay, here we go. And that's all we can do. And I know that there are going to be more. But as I'm going through this season, I just wanted to talk about it, because I think it's something to talk about it as I'm going through it rather than after, even though after I would have even less bucks given afterwards, way less. But right now I'm in the middle of just getting hit with all these things. But I have turned on my on switch is kind of how I think about it in my mind. This year has been one where I have coasted. Really, I've just ridden the wave of efforts that I've put in before, and just I took on gardening and just I lived my life this year, and I've relaxed. And now that I'm feeling more energized and all of that, I have turned on my on switch and I'm like, okay, we're in business mode. I listen to business podcasts and audiobooks, and I put things in my ear every single day that are business things. And I am on the track of I'm in a business growth mode. And so if you want to be in a business growth mode with me, I would happily welcome you because there's some energy going on right now after the full moons and all the witchy things. No, I hope that you turn on your on switch too, or if it's already on, it just keeps going. Or if you want to wait and turn yours on January 1 and join me for small group coaching, I would love to have you and share this let's go energy and have you make more money, because I think it comes down to finding out what works for you and what's going to motivate you. And for me, it's podcast, moving my body, talking to other artists every day, meeting and just doing things and having each other hold each other accountable. And just all of this stuff helps me grow my business. And with the business growth comes some bad, but not all of it has to be detrimental, is what I'm just putting out there. But okay, that's all I have for you this week. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Artist Academy podcast. I wanted to let you know this week only, so just this week, so hopefully you're listening in the last week of November, I am offering a $1 trial membership to the Academy from now until Christmas. So you get a whole month in the Academy for just $1. And I'm doing this because I decided, what the heck, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon of all the Black Friday holiday specials, and let's just see how it goes, because I would love to welcome many, many new members towards the end of the year, because I know everybody is busy. Or if you're not busy, I have some sales strategies for you inside of the Academy with our 4th quarter success plan. So I wanted to do though just $1 because I know that in general, December is not the best time to jump in and learn something new. Like, people are typically busy with holiday parties and wrapping up the end of the year. So I wanted to give this just really extra special good deal of just $1. $1. That's it. And go to artistacademy.co. And if you're not sure what the Artist Academy membership is, say you just started listening to the podcast, or you've been listening for a while, but you really like the business talk interviews, but you're not sure what you're signing up for $1. Like, why is this so good? Why should you go to artistacademy.co, the link in the description, and pay $1 for this thing? What is this? So let me tell you about it. I started videoing myself anytime I did a painting technique or a back-end strategy, or how I got jobs with painting, anything that had to do with art, business, and painting. I did a tutorial on it. I showed people how I'm doing it. Things like sending emails, how I talk to my customers, how I price specifically, how I send invoices, how like the not fun stuff, like proposals and all that. But it's also the stuff that gets me jobs. There's a reason that I'm busy doing high-paying jobs nowadays. It's because I've done all this back end for so many years. It's paying off now. And I share everything that I do inside of the Academy. And you can go in there and watch it at your leisure whenever you have time in the next month. Even if it's 1 hour on a Monday or the 30 minutes on the weekend, like, you can go in, watch a tutorial, learn something new in order to make money in your business. Because I know there are so many talented artists out there, but not many know how to do the back end of it. So I made it easy for you. You can just use the search feature within the Academy. Say you need help with pitching. You can search in the Academy and there will be many videos that pop up where I interview other people on how they pitched, how I show exactly how I do it with the flyer that I use, and just every little thing that you could use is in there. And if it's not, and you're looking for something, comment in our Facebook group and I'll add it. Easy, right? So I want to help you, either if you're not in the place of where you want to be in your art career, say you're working at the job that you maybe just doesn't make you come alive. You're not creative in this job and it just doesn't fulfill you, but because you see me, this small town Missouri girl making 6 figures in her mural business, you're like, okay, if she can do it, like, you can do it. That's exactly what it took for me. I was like, okay, if the other person can do it, I can do it, right? I just need to figure out how. So I stumbled and I figured it out, but you can use my stumblings to figure it out a little bit quicker. I've coached other artists to quit their full-time job, to flourish in the painting world, and some to even make 6 figures, which we've had on this podcast before. And I can help you too. Just hop into our Facebook group, ask questions. I see every question that goes on there. And if I don't get to it, some of our other 6-figure muralists will get to it first. Or we'll all ask questions, pricing questions. Am I doing this right questions? I just had a really bad interaction with a customer. What do I do? Like everything on the back end that you maybe, if you don't have family that knows what they're doing in this section, or you don't have friends, you don't have a mentor, this is what it is. The Artist Academy membership is your mentorship in your back pocket. So join for just $1 for the next month. So for the now to basically the rest of the year, you can join for just $1, but you have to sign up before December 1st. So it's this week only. Sign up before December 1st and you will get that $1 rate. And if you're listening to it after this, it's $37 a month. Still doesn't break the bank, but that $1 rate is only for now until December 1st. So go to artistacademy.co and I will see you inside of the Facebook group and on our call on Mondays. We have calls every Mondays where people can ask me questions live. Basically, it's everything that you need. So go to artistacademy.co, sign up for $1. Okay, I'll see you next week.